Good morning, everyone. This is the second in the series about Eishet Chayil that is so customary to sing on a Friday night. And the question I want to deal with in the next few podcasts is, what does it really talk about? Who is the subject of Eishet Chayil? And the first and very obvious interpretation to Eishet Chayil is, it's talking about the women in the house. Indeed, before we go into sources for this, I want to quote a great woman that, thank God, just married off a son. Her name is Stacy Goldman. I had the pleasure of being at Amir and Stacy Goldman's house on a Friday night. And Stacy said that there's no question that in the last year and a half, the real Eishet Chayil, the real women of valor, are the Neshot Chayil, the wives of men who are serving in Miluim again and again and again, putting their life at risk for the state of Israel. And the women, namely the wives, are both the mother and the father, and running usually from place to place, both being a career woman on the one hand and being parents on the other. And they're definitely above and beyond any Eishet Chayil that we can talk about. And indeed, the most obvious interpretation is, after a whole week, we give thanks to the women in the house. So, if you look in the original interpretations to Mishlei, Perek Lamed Aleph, which is the last Perek in Mishlei, from which Eishet Chayil is taken from, starting with Pasuk Yud, you'll see that the Mitzudat David says, and I quote, Eishet Chayil b'hatimo lesaper musarehimo, since he spoke about the musar that he got from his mother, namely all the great ideas that he talks about in Mishlei, till the end, namely till the 31st chapter, Chazar l'shabeach Eishet Chayil lichvod imo. He decided to write a beautiful, beautiful, nice and glorious description of his mother. The Mantiyont la l'zikaron, so it could be a beautiful testament to her for all generations. The Malbim, many, many generations later, the Malbim touched the 20th century. He said Eishet Chayil, the same idea. Yani skira musar shel aim moal shaita Eishet Chayil kamo shenira musara zachar shefach Eishet Chayil. That just like he got so many great ideas from his mother, he decided to give her a testament at the end of the book of Mishlei. And indeed, the Yalkut Chadash, when he talks about the Eishet Chayil that we sing on a Friday night, does say, and I quote his words, quoting a Gemara, Amar Ravacha, Kol Hanosei Isha Kshira Kilu Kiyem, Kol HaTorah Kura Mi Aleph Ataf, Ha'alav Hu Omer, Ishtecha Gefen Poriyah. If you marry the right woman, it's like you fulfill the whole Torah from Aleph to Taf, from the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet all the way to the last. Lefikach Nichtava Eishet Chayil Mi Aleph Ataf. And therefore, because of this connection between fulfilling the whole Torah and marrying the right woman, Eishet Chayil was written in an acrostic from Aleph, Eishet Chayil. Next sentence is with Bet, secondly with Gimel, and ending, of course, with Taf. That just like way back when, Bizchut Nashim Tzidkaniyot Nigalu Yisrael, way back when in Egypt, we were redeemed because of the righteous women, so too in the future, says the Yalkut Chadash, we will be redeemed because of these righteous women that we speak about. Shene'emar, Zachar Chazdo v'emunatol leBeit Yisrael. God will remember his kindness and his faith to the house of Israel. Livnei Yisrael and K'tiv Kan. It doesn't say the children of Israel, the males. Ela leBeit Yisrael, Elu Hanashim. Namely, to the house of Israel, which are the women. And indeed, in the Gemara, in many different places, it says Beito zu ishto, Namely, ultimately, when you talk about the house, first and foremost, it's associated with the women in the house. And therefore, on a Friday night, in a very, very natural way, when we start one week on the one hand and end another week on the other, we give thanks to the women of the house, because the women were ultimately the ones that were most associated with the, I would say, achievements of that house throughout that week. So when you end one week and you begin another, which is Shabbos, you give a beautiful testament to the women. Finally, last but not least, the Mishneh Sachir says exactly the same thing. Who is the Mishneh Sachir? The Mishneh Sachir is someone that everyone in the religious Zionist community knows very, very well. He is Rav Yisachar Shlomo Teichtel. His years 1885 to 1945. He was an anti-Zionist, a big Talmid Chacham, but during the World War II, he understood that he made a huge mistake, and he wrote the famous book, Im Habanim Smecha, talking about the fact that only going back to Israel and being a Zionist will get us out of this terrible situation, and for generations to come. So, beyond the Im Habanim Smecha, he wrote a book called Mishneh Sachir, and in the book, Mishneh Sachir, he says, Aval be'emet isha Eishet Chayil, the real woman of valor, Kol machshavotea lahavi et ba'ala ve'et kol b'nei mishpachta liyedei ha'olam haba. The real woman of valor has one thing in mind, and that is to cause a situation where we all the members of the household, get to the proper, I would say, wanted world to come. So ultimately, on a Friday night, it is the most appropriate time that when we sit at our dining room tables and we're finally enjoying the house, because that's the day we spend most of our time in our house, we give thanks to the women which are most associated with our homes in so many cases. And indeed, if a woman lives up to the beautiful words of the Eishet Chayil, on the one hand running a home, on the other hand being a career woman, then it's no less than a huge achievement.
ישחק ליום האחרון טוב ועד הלב הוא שבת ישחק ליום האחרון לה לה